Hi guys and welcome to Premier League Prediction Week 13, and we have Friday night football tonight. We have West Ham versus Leicester. Obviously Leicester have picked up a couple of good results in the last couple of weeks. West Ham has been an awful season for them, to be honest. I forgot to mention, I think last week, that they appointed David Moyes as their new manager. They did lose last week. They're at home this week, but I just think that, funny enough, I think Leicester's going to get in their face, which is what they do, half the time, to teams, Leicester. And I think with the poor form that West Ham's on at the moment, even though it is at West Ham, I think that Leicester is going to win this quite comfortably. So I'm going to go West Ham 0, Leicester 2. Now we go to Saturday's fixtures. There's no lunchtime kickoff tomorrow. So we start with Manchester United versus Brighton. And I said last week, that Newcastle's been doing quite well for the last couple of weeks. But I thought that Manchester United were going to be far too strong for them, and that was the case. Newcastle did go 1-0 up, but then the talent just came into play, and obviously Man U spanked them 4-1 in the end. I think it's going to be quite similar this weekend, with them being quite comfortable, because again Brighton's not had quite a bad season either, but again you'd expect Manchester United to be far too strong for them. I don't think they're going to win 4-1, but I do think they will win quite comfortably. I'm going to go Manchester United 2, Brighton 0. We then have Crystal Palace versus Stoke. Again, two teams that have been struggling this season. It's going to be really quite tough as well. I always talk about these kind of games where you need crucial 3 points, but again I'm not going to give either side 3 points. I'm going to go Crystal Palace 1, Stoke 1. We then have Tottenham versus West Brom. I thought Tottenham were really, really poor against Arsenal last week. I thought Arsenal were absolutely all over them, and I disagree with Spurs fans and the panel, to be honest with you. Yeah, okay, you might look at me and say, well, you're going to say that as an Arsenal fan, but I really don't. It's nothing to do with Arsenal. I would have said it if it had been the other way around, but you cannot pull players' shirts, and that should have been a booking. They're moaning about it shouldn't have even been a free kick. It should have been a booking, let alone a free kick. You cannot pull shirts in this game, and he was pulling Sanchez back. Yeah, all right, it might have been a tad offside, but again, don't tell me as a Spurs fan or another fan that you don't get decisions going your way, and you wouldn't have took the free kick, and you wouldn't have took the goal if it was offside. So I think they just need to stop moaning and bitching. To be honest, you were awful on the day. Arsenal were all over Tottenham, and they won fair and square. There should have been 2 or 3-0 up before we even scored that free kick anyway. So it annoys me, and I even say it about Arsenal fans as well. It annoys me when teams, and fans look for the slightest bit of excuse of why they lost. You lost because you were shit on the day. Nothing to do with an offside goal or anything like that, because we would have scored anyway. And it was a free kick, marginally offside. I can go to games where you've got away with offside ones, like Manchester City, when there was 3 of you offside, but it wasn't given. It happens. Get on with it. But anyway, that's my little rant over. But again, I think Spurs will go back to, they had that little blip last week, because I will give credit to Spurs. They are a fantastic, solid team, and the Sun, it wasn't quite right last week. Like I said, I don't know if it was the fact that Arsenal were just on the game and they didn't let Tottenham play, but the Sun just wasn't right for me last week. But again, I do think that Tottenham will win quite comfortably against West Brom. I'm going to go Spurs 2. However, I am going to give a goal to West Brom. I'm going to go Spurs 2, West Brom. But when I say they win quite comfortably, I think it's going to be one of them games where Tottenham will see a lot of the ball, they dominate a lot of the game, obviously. But I have given a goal to West Brom as well. But in playing wise, I think Tottenham will win quite comfortably. We then have Swansea versus Bournemouth. Again, Swansea. They tend to have a couple of good games and then they go back to being quite poor. So it was quite hard to analyse this game actually, because Bournemouth can be quite the same as well. They can be quite attacking, and then they go for a poor patch. So nice and simple. I'm going to go with Swansea 1, Bournemouth 1. We then have Newcastle versus Watford. Obviously, I spoke about Newcastle losing 4-1 to Manchester United last week. Obviously, Watford won't be as good as Manchester United. It is at Newcastle as well. I think it's called the Sports Direct Stadium now. I still call it St James. But So it is at Newcastle. So I'm going to give a win to Newcastle. I'm going to go Newcastle 2, Watford 1. And then at 5:30 we have Liverpool versus Chelsea again. This was quite hard to analyse because, you know, Chelsea, they've not been the Chelsea that we knew last season. And again, Liverpool can be like Arsenal. They can have 3 or 4 good results and then they have a really bad one. So it's quite hard to analyse. And obviously, you know, being 3-0 up against Seville in the week and then drawing 3-3, is that going to do something to the confidence? I'm not quite sure. It was really hard to analyse this one, actually. The only way I came to this result, I think, was because Liverpool tend to turn up in the big games, you know, and they tend to frustrate the other opposition, you know. Whereas Chelsea as well, you know, Chelsea can be solid and they score a lot of goals as well. So for that, I went Liverpool 2, Chelsea 2. Got to go for one lively game this weekend. So actually, I've gone for 2, but that's the first one. I've gone 2-2. On Sunday, we at 1:30 we have Southampton versus Everton. Again, Everton been really poor this season. They're getting a couple of good results now, but their scorelines are absolutely mad at the moment. Absolutely mad. Southampton, again, I spoke about them. They haven't been really the team that we've come to know and love over the years. But I'm going to go for another crazy result with Everton this weekend, and I'm going to go for a losing for them as well. I'm going to go Southampton 3, Everton 2. And the only reason I came to that scoreline was because, like I said, last couple of weeks, Everton's goals have been absolutely ridiculous. I think they beat Watford something like 3-2. Then they beat somebody. I think they've had two 3-2s in a row now. I think. So if they did get this one, that'd be like a hat trick of 3-2s. I can't remember who they played last week. I'm sure it was 3-2 there, but I know the week before that they did beat Watford 3-2. We then have Burnley versus Arsenal at 2 o'clock. That isn't on BT or Sky, by the way. So I'm not quite sure why that's happened, but there you go. Hey ho. Again, this is going to be a completely different game for Arsenal this weekend. I think they're going to struggle against Burnley. You know, Burnley's going to make it hard. They're not going to give us the space that Tottenham gave us. And I remember last season we struggled against Burnley as well, and they could have actually won it. There was times in the games, you know, where they could have actually won it, and we actually stole it last season. You know, we did have a corner that went overtime, and yeah, okay, fair enough. We did handball it in the back of the net as well. Well, ball to hand if you like, but I suppose it shouldn't have counted. So you see, I can admit things, you know, that we shouldn't have won that last season. We did, you know, just get on with it. I don't think we're going to win this weekend. I think Burnley's a real tough test for us. I'm going to go Burnley 1, Arsenal 1. Really, it's going to be really tough to get anything at Turf Moor. And then at 4 o'clock we have Huddersfield versus Manchester City. Again, Huddersfield's been really good this season, but again, you'd expect Manchester City to be far too strong for them. I'm going to Huddersfield 1, Manchester City 3. So that has been my predictions for this weekend, guys, and I'll see you Monday for midweek action, because we've got midweek action this week. So I'll give you the predictions for those on Monday. Thank you for watching, guys.